Well, welcome to the show today, The Search For. I'm your host, Daniel Collier, and today we are looking into a most fascinating and peculiar story. Is it real? Now, after the past Hurricane Helene that hit the United States, it is one of the most devastating hurricanes to ever hit America. And what is becoming a quite unusual and questioning pattern that many people are starting to look at is not that it's a geostorm of the century, but possibly a geo-engineered storm. As we look into this story today, are we looking at the possibility that someone, a huge corporation, something like Spectre from a James Bond movie, is interfering with the United States economy, the weather, the politics, the food, everything involving our lives for a particular reason? This is speculative, but there are many things that are bringing up quite a lot of conspiracy theorist thought. Stay tuned today as we look at and examine the possibility of geoengineering and the storms escalating to the point of devastating, because the number one factor bringing up questions from California fires to Maui fires to geoengineered storms is the immediate rollout of the idea in the publications in the mainstream media of smart cities replacing the ones devastated. That is the number one question that is on people's minds.
Since the beginning of time, humans have been at the mercy of the weather. From catastrophic hurricanes to relentless droughts, nature has wielded power that can shape civilizations. But what if humanity has found a way to control these natural forces, not for the betterment of mankind, but for destruction? Today, we explore the controversial topic of weather modification. Could secret programs and technologies be manipulating the weather in ways we can barely comprehend? And if so, who stands to benefit, and who stands to lose? One of the most talked about weather modification projects is HARP, the High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program. Officially, HARP's goal was to study the ionosphere, the electrically charged portion of the Earth's atmosphere. But theories abound that its true purpose may be far more sinister. Many believe HARP was designed to control weather patterns by targeting areas of the ionosphere with high-frequency radio waves. These waves, they claim, can heat sections of the atmosphere, altering jet streams, influencing weather, and even triggering storms. Is this merely a scientific experiment, or could HARP be used as a weapon? But HARP isn't the only technology suspected of weather control. Many are turning their attention to the countless cell phone towers spread across our cities and rural landscapes. These towers, officially designed for telecommunications, are thought by some to have dual purposes. In addition to transmitting cell signals, certain models may be equipped with technology that influences the weather on a local level. The equipment, often referred to as atmospheric heaters or ionization devices, is believed to interact with the atmosphere, intensifying winds, or even directing storm systems. Some speculate that by emitting specific frequencies, these towers could alter atmospheric pressure or disrupt moisture patterns. While official sources deny this capability, there's an increasing number of curious weather anomalies that seem to coincide with the proliferation of this technology. Could the tools for weather control be hidden in plain sight, disguised as everyday infrastructure? To understand where these theories come from, we must look to history. After World War II, the government became highly interested in weather manipulation as a potential weapon. One of the earliest, and perhaps most chilling, experiments was Project Cirrus. This experiment aimed to seed hurricanes, intentionally altering their course to use them as weapons of war. In October 1947, as part of Project Cirrus, scientists seeded a hurricane off the coast of Georgia with dry ice in an attempt to divert it. Instead of steering the storm away from land, the hurricane abruptly changed direction and made an unexpected landfall near Savannah. The storm caused extensive damage, killing at least one person and leaving behind a trail of destruction. The experiment had gone terribly wrong. raising ethical and practical questions about the consequences of manipulating the forces of nature. While Project Cirrus was eventually abandoned, it planted the seed for future weather modification programs, both in the United States and abroad. Today, the potential to control the weather has grown significantly, with technology far more advanced than anything that existed in the 1940s. But has that potential been weaponized? The implications of weaponized weather are staggering. Storms could be directed to strike specific targets, creating chaos, destroying infrastructure, and disrupting economies without a trace of human involvement. It's the ultimate weapon, invisible, deniable, and devastating. While cloud seeding, the practice of dispersing substances into the air to encourage rain, has been used for decades, it represents only the surface of weather modification. Advanced geoengineering techniques may now be in play, using technologies like HARP and cell phone towers to achieve much more dramatic results. Despite the lack of concrete proof, there are growing concerns among independent researchers about whether some of the world's most destructive storms are natural at all. Hurricanes that suddenly strengthen or change direction, severe droughts that seem almost engineered. Could these be examples of advanced weather warfare? The U.S. military has long been interested in weather manipulation as a strategic tool. During the Vietnam War, the U.S. attempted to prolong monsoon seasons to disrupt enemy forces, a project known as Operation Popeye. This was an early example of using weather as a weapon, but what if those experiments have continued in secret?
When we look at these devices now that are attached to our cell phone towers, they appear to be just part of sending out signals as we would have for our phones and something good for us. And the weather modification and geoengineering devices are also rolled out to the public as safety devices. Let's say we are supposed to have a storm or we're having a drought somewhere, and these devices could be used to create rain or steer a storm away from us. However, what the public is finding and reporting on is that these storms, as they appear on radar later, they appear to fire up these stations. You see the hot spots appearing all along these towers on a trajectory. And within this, you see the storm follow it, but you see an enormous escalation of weather patterns of rain and then destructions of cities and towns. This has the American public, as well as the world, very concerned as we look at the fact that when this happens, the towns are devastated, but immediately rolling out within 1 or 2 days are reports in the mainstream media of smart cities replacing these towns where everyday Americans, hardworking people, lived and thrived and had their communities utterly destroyed. Who is behind the ideas of these smart cities?
In recent years, we've witnessed disasters that seem to defy explanation. Unprecedented wildfires that burn with terrifying precision, wiping out entire communities. Storms that appear to intensify overnight and change direction in ways meteorologists struggle to predict. But in the aftermath of these catastrophes, a curious pattern emerges. Talk of smart cities. Could it be that these disasters are not acts of nature, but carefully orchestrated events to pave the way for a new era of controlled, hyper-technological urban landscapes? First, let's explore the idea of directed energy weapons, DWs. While these sound like the stuff of science fiction, DWs are very real, developed for military use by several nations, including the United States. These weapons use highly focused energy, such as lasers or microwaves, to target specific areas with extreme precision. In theory, they can burn through metal, ignite fires, and even disrupt electronic systems. But what if these weapons are being used not just on the battlefield, but against civilian populations? In some of the most devastating wildfires we've seen, strange anomalies have been reported. Houses reduced to ash, while nearby trees remain untouched. Cars melted, yet their surroundings left relatively unscathed. The patterns are so bizarre that they've fueled theories that directed energy weapons could be behind the destruction. And in the aftermath of these fires, the conversation often shifts toward rebuilding, specifically, rebuilding these areas into smart cities. Smart cities are touted as the future of urban living. Highly advanced, automated, and connected, they promise to revolutionize how we live and work, integrating everything from transportation to utilities under a centralized digital framework. But could the push toward these high-tech cities be part of a larger, more nefarious plan? Some believe that the destruction of traditional communities through fires and other disasters could be part of a deliberate strategy to clear the way for these smart cities to rise. Consider the devastating wildfires in California, which have been some of the most destructive in history. In the wake of these tragedies, government officials and tech companies often speak of rebuilding the affected areas as sustainable and smart cities. The timing raises eyebrows. Could there be a connection between the strange precision of the fires, the rapid response to rebuild with advanced technology, and the long-term goal of creating controlled environments where every aspect of life is monitored and managed? And what about weather modification? As we discussed earlier, technologies like HARP and possibly even cell phone towers are rumored to have the ability to manipulate weather patterns, intensifying storms or directing them to specific areas. These storms wreak havoc, and once again, after the devastation, we hear calls to rebuild better, smarter, more resilient cities equipped to handle the challenges of a changing world. But what if those changes are being engineered from the start? Some theorists suggest that behind this push for smart cities and the use of weather or energy weapons to clear the way for them is a powerful cabal of global elites, corporations, governments, and tech giants, working together toward a shared vision of the future. In this vision, smart cities would be not just technologically advanced, but tightly controlled environments where everything is tracked: your movements, your energy usage, even your personal data. These cities would be sold to the public as safer, greener, and more efficient. But could they also be prisons of surveillance? The evidence is speculative, but the pattern is hard to ignore. Disasters happen, sometimes with unnatural precision, and then plans to rebuild with cutting-edge technology are unveiled shortly after. In some cases, even before the fires are out or the storm clouds have cleared, contracts are being signed to transform these areas into futuristic hubs of smart technology. It begs the question, are these disasters being used as a pretext to advance a grander agenda? And if so, who stands to gain? The smart city concept isn't inherently evil. In fact, the promise of efficient energy grids, smart infrastructure, and connected communities could benefit society in many ways. But the speed with which these ideas are implemented following destruction, combined with the strange nature of the events themselves, leads some to believe that the push for smart cities may be more orchestrated than organic. Who could be behind such a plan? Many point to global organizations like the World Economic Forum, which has long championed smart cities and digital infrastructure as part of their vision for the future. Others suggest that major tech companies, working in tandem with governments, are eager to establish control over urban environments in ways that would have been unthinkable just a few decades ago. With the use of directed energy weapons and weather manipulation, they may have the means to clear the path for these new cities, while keeping the public in the dark about their true intentions. As we look at the connection between these strange disasters and the rise of smart cities, the question is not just who could be behind it, but why. Is it a bid for control? A way to monitor and influence every aspect of our lives under the guise of innovation? Or could it be something even more insidious? The truth may never be fully revealed, but one thing is clear: the world is changing rapidly, and not always in ways that make sense. As disasters strike and cities are rebuilt as hyper-connected hubs of technology, we must ask ourselves whether these changes are truly in our best interest, or whether they're part of a larger, hidden agenda. And if that's the case, what else might we not be seeing? This is The Search For. Until next time, keep your eyes open, and remember, the answers are often hiding in plain sight.
What we are seeing is a pattern going on, from fires happening in Malibu, in California, where you see on radar that is released to the public through private individuals, you find that you see things that look like directed energy beams hitting in places, and then fires that unusually melt car tire rims. They melt entire structures to the ground, except the oddity of those with a blue roof. Fire does not skip over homes with blue roofs, brown roofs, red roofs. It just burns everything it can burn. Why would homes with blue roofs get skipped? Why are billionaires owning properties in certain areas in California and in Hawaii painting their roofs blue? This is a question to ask yourself. Is there an agenda going on behind the scenes, perhaps above the government, where homes are being burnt, cities are being removed for the building of something new? Perhaps these ultra mega corporations, these 5 super corporations, are orchestrating things above the government and sneaking it in past the will of the people of the countries? We can ask this question because the general public does not get to see information regarding these types of things. All they see is the happy-go-lucky side, the commercials that tell them how great things are going to be if they go along with the new technology, and how devastating this storm was, or this event that took place that was natural. And they have no idea that these megacorps, perhaps now controlling certain people in positions of power, to allow them to happen. But it is imperative for the general public to know that these things exist, because this is how you become aware and contact senators, and your pressure as the general public becomes greater than a corporation's, and you can protect and save your country just as the founders of America designed. So if you haven't got a copy of this book, Reason to Believe, yet, I suggest you look into it and get a copy. This book is the book that will answer nearly all of your questions regarding putting the pieces of the puzzle together so that you can better understand what's happening. This book, Reason to Believe, if you also decide to get a copy of the formula, this book will be given to you in digital form for your tablet or your computer or your cell phone for free. And you can use the formula to enter in scenarios and get answers from artificial intelligence about things that are going on and possible scenarios of how this would take place, such as geostorms and the possibility of geoengineered storms being a part of what is occurring. And so I suggest, if you'd like a free copy of it, get the formula with a link below, and you will be able to get a lot of answers, just as this show, The Search For, tries to answer for you. Also, we have another book for those of you know. This book, called Millionaire Mindset, has my picture on the cover, is designed for you because the people that are engineering the types of things in the world that do not want you to succeed have trapped your mind into a certain form of thinking to keep you where you are, working 9 to 5 and never being a threat to their corporate control. And our idea is for you to live out the American dream and protect our Constitution and freedoms. You can also get a copy of this book in the link below. So thank you very much for listening today as we have talked about geoengineering storms and the possibility that these storms are a huge problem for the American people's safety. Now, if you want to be part of a special group, we have a community with a link also in the description below. You can join, where we go further in depth discussing these topics, where you yourself can learn from other people, very smart people, possibly scientists, and also from myself and others discussing these topics in further depth, which cannot be discussed on this channel. But this is why you can join this special private group and also go on specific missions yourself, searching for answers and providing information. Perhaps we'll even do a show on information you have provided us. Thank you for joining us today. I am Daniel Collier for The Search For. See you on the next episode. Let's take an adventure.
Boy, that escalated quickly. I mean, that really got out of hand fast.
It jumped up a notch.
It did, didn't it?
Let me ask you something. Have you ever seen a headline and thought, there's got to be more to this? Everybody has, and nowadays especially. What if you could dig a little deeper into it and find out stuff nobody's talking about? So here's the deal. I've got this formula I created, and it's been back engineered based off of how, let's say, secret people create scenarios for you to follow. It's kind of like your own personal conspiracy scriptwriter. You take any mainstream story, you plug it in, and boom, it spits out an alternative explanation that's so spot on, you might start to question reality yourself. Now, here's where it gets fun. When you combine it with AI, it's like having a superpower. You can whip up these crazy X-File level theories in just seconds. Use it for blog posts, use it for podcasts, you can use it for videos, or just to mess with your own head. The best part is, it's so good, it might even convince your woke friend. Ha! Maybe. But look, It's all for entertainment, mostly. So if you're curious, if you like to live outside the box, or if you just want to see what they may not want you to see, you can check it out below. It is what we use for most of our alternative theories in our podcast and our videos, because it is the formula that possibly someone uses to pull the wool over the world's eyes. You're going to love this formula. Get it in the link below. You get a video that comes along with the training and proof behind it, as well as your own copy to use to become like Sherlock Holmes for all the things that you question and want answers about. It's a lot of fun, and it answers a lot of serious questions you've been wondering about.
I wish there was just one book out there, Conspiracy Chimp, that would tell us everything we wanted to know. No, Conspiracy Chimp, stop bugging me. I'm trying to figure out if there's a book that will tell all of this Rothschild conspiracy stuff. Conspiracy Chimp, you are always just eat a banana, leave me alone.
Oh, you're stupid. Oh. You smart monkey. Get the book Reason to Believe. Link in the description or comments. Smart monkey. Reason to Believe. Know all the answers.
Reason to Believe, a serious book for smart monkeys. No normies were injured in the making of this ad. Well, hello there. I'm Nick, and I have a question for you. Have you ever been so woke you were asleep? This is my special story. Stay tuned. You're going to love it.
Hello. Hey, Dan. Yeah, how's Mom? Yeah. Yes, I got the book. I have a Harvard PhD. You know this. And if there's anything at that school that we needed to know about things, they would have taught us. Besides, this conspiracy stuff you're always talking about, if the government knew about this, they would tell us. I gotta go. Bye. Call me like 1,000 times. You have never mentioned to this. Did you know that the Rockefellers in the 1960s, they had an advertisement with the Rockefeller on there, and his watch hands were on 9/11, and how is that even possible? You did not tell me. I gotta go. Bye. Oh my God. I've gotta fact check that. Oh, Dan, answer the phone. I'm reading in this book about the United Nations, and all of these people involved at the highest levels, they were all Luciferians. Is someone listening to the phone?
Till the end of the day. Till the end of the day.
Hey, Dan, it's Nick. Your brother, Nick. Hey, what do you mean? There's nothing wrong with my voice. Look, this book I've been telling you to read, did you know that the Beatles were secretly involved in some serious stuff? They had Aleister Crowley on their album cover. He was the wickedest man who ever lived. No, I'm telling you about it. You've never said a word about this stuff to me. It's all in this book I kept telling you to read. This reason to... You did not send... I ordered the book. Anyway, listen, man. I'm going to meet you and tell you about this. You need to learn all about this stuff. All right, gotta go. Get your copy of Reason to Believe. Link in the description below. No woke people were harmed in the making of this video.